This has got to be one of the craziest Stanley Cup final games I've ever seen. And as an aside, what a year of sports we're having, from the Olympics to a great NHL and NBA playoff finals. It just feels like there's been something going all the time, which is great. And there were storylines coming into this game. Braden McNabb obviously took that nasty injury in Game 2. He would end up playing tonight and got a massive ovation from the Vegas crowd. Vegas themselves also, of course, had the chance to take a commanding series lead back home last game, but ended up losing to Seth Jarvis in overtime. Carolina having a perfect overtime record this postseason until today anyway. And the other big question people are going to keep asking after tonight's game is goaltending for both teams. In Game 2, Carter Hart let in goals on 3 consecutive shots, and spoiler alert, we'd see the same thing tonight. But all right, let's get into the game. And I'm not going to talk a whole lot about officiating, but this one was frustrating for both fans, but I mean especially Vegas. I thought the first was kind of what people were expecting from this series. A lot of board battles, a lot of tight checking, but things really opened up in the second. The frustration for Vegas started with 2 goals called back, the first for offside, the second for goaltender interference. Honestly, both those calls, in my opinion, were pretty much as easy as it gets for their respective rules. It sucks. Vegas felt like they were dominating, but this was a game of threes, and third time would be the charm, as Hertl would grab a goal for Vegas on the power play 10 minutes in. But our next set of 3 would come from Mitch Marner, who in 6 minutes and 10 seconds scored the fastest hat trick in Stanley Cup final history. Mitch Marner, I saw this tweet by the way, had as many points in this single period as he did in 5 distinct playoff runs with the Leafs. So that's fun. He is, I think, without question, especially as goaltending has fallen apart a bit for both teams in this series, the clear number 1 most likely Conn Smythe winner at this point. Marner's first goal was definitely a bit of a lucky one. Banks one in off a defender. This was immediately after Hertl opened the scoring. Then McNabb, with a great heads-up, albeit risky play, steps up, grabs a failed Carolina clear, hits Marner, who scores to make it 3-0. Then 2 minutes later, after Carolina fails on a shot, Marner goes in down the wing and rips a slap shot low blocker side. Beautiful goal, and man, you can only imagine what he feels like right now. The drama, however, would not end. Mitch Marner had a chance for 4. Short-handed in the third, he's taken down, goes to a penalty shot. In the third, Anderson has pulled Bussey in net. He stops it. Honestly, I thought he looked good all game. Afterwards on Sportsnet, the panel talked about who should start next game, whether it should be Anderson or Bussey. Honestly, Bussey, I thought, more than earned a chance in this series, and I think Vegas is so good, you're going to need to look for any benefit you can get. Bussey would end the night with a .947 save percentage, facing 19 shots and letting in just 1 goal. Keep in mind, he won 31 out of 39 games he started in the regular season. He had a lot of time played. Also, I meant to mention this on the 3-0 goal. McNabb ended up playing a ton of minutes tonight. He would get an assist as well on the eventual game winner. Him being there for Vegas was absolutely massive. He played the most minutes of any defenseman for Vegas. He was a +3 with 2 assists. Just an absolute warrior, and his loss easily could have changed how this one worked out. Anyway, I said it was a game of threes, and the craziest 3 was yet to come. I've got to admit, I did not see this live. I was going upstairs to make some coffee. I come back down. The game, which had been 4-0, is now 4-3. Once again, Carolina scores on 3 consecutive shots, this time over the course of 39 seconds. The nicest one for me was number 2, the way Sebastian Aho tracks down that loose puck, backhands it to Taylor Hall, then Jordan Staal gets number 3, just tossing the puck on the net. And from that, the game got fun. The refs were not calling much. There were only 2 penalties to end the third, one to Seth Jarvis, delay of game, the other to Shea Theodore, also for delay of game. Vegas fans had some problems with that. They pointed out, however, on the broadcast that there was also a moment where Carter Hart played the puck puck in the trapezoid that should have been called. It wasn't. You know, it goes both ways in these playoffs, but they were not calling much. There were a few slashes, a few trips. Really, only something you could not ignore, like a puck going out, was getting called. Anyway, on that power play for delay of game, Rod lets the boys run 5-on-4 for a bit. He ends up pulling Bussy, and with the extra man, Svechnikov ends up scoring a greasy one. Now, this was a mess because a Vegas player hit a Carolina player straight into the goaltender. Technically, Torts perhaps could have challenged this one. It was called a goal even after the refs discussed it. But the questionable part is the Vegas player put the Carolina player into his own goalie, and you risk, of course, taking a penalty if you lose the challenge with 2 minutes left in the game. Anyway, we'd have one entire overtime. Nothing happens, and in the second, the game ends in a very weird way. Shea Theodore simply shoots the puck, doesn't even hit the net, bounces off the boards, goes in off the back of Bussy's skate. Man, I feel terrible for Carolina after this goal to fight back, but I also feel terrible for him specifically. He looked so good. He would have been the goalie of record had Carolina come back and actually won this one. But I mean, that's often what you see in these long overtime games. It's something like a funny shot off the boards and it's over. So the Golden Knights take a 2-1 series lead with the next game now on Tuesday. They've got an extra day off here. A bit weird, like you'd think they'd want it today because of the travel days, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the NBA playoffs. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the game. Very, very entertaining. This series has been one of the better Stanley Cup finals of recent memory. I know some people have been crapping on these teams because they're not necessarily the most sexy teams from a big market perspective, although Vegas certainly has the villain aura, which I think makes this a whole lot of fun. But those are my thoughts. Again, let me know yours down below, and I'll see you next time.